Okay, so today is session number 11 of the second semester on braided fusion category. So last time we finished section 4 to 6 with some technical lemma. Maybe I don't want to come back to that. So let's start next section, subsection 4 to 7 about dimension. So for now, we assume that C is always a fusion category. Equipped with a G action. D is a fusion category over rep G, such that the functor is fully faithful. D is a fusion category over rep G, such that the canonical functor from rep G D is fully faithful. Remember that by definition of a fusion category of a tensor category over rep G. So the definition, what is that? Is that you have a morphism from D. No, from you have a central morphism from rep G to the center of D. Central functor. So you have a functor. So wait. Where is it? Let me remember the definition. Yeah. So tensor category over E is a tensor category equipped with a central functor. So it's a braided functor. So here is braided functor. Braided functor. And here you can apply the forgetful functor D. And so you get this functor from that to that. And this is what we call the canonical functor. And it's assumed to be fully faithful because of the theorem, some theorem with a wait, which theorem require fully faithfulness? A theorem 483. Apply theorem 483, stating that C is fusion only if its equivalentization is fusion. Okay. Yeah, particular if you replace. So you can write this and this if you prefer. Okay. Okay. So in this, from now we have in this case. Okay. So but note that we don't assume C and D to be braided. A priori. Neither C nor D are assumed to be braided. So now we will state and prove a proposition regarding the dimension of the equivalentization and dimension of the disequivalentization. The following result show dimension behave well under equivalentization. And deequivariantization. Proposition 426. We have the dimension, the categorical dimension of the equivalentization of G, of C, is the order of G times the categorical dimension of C. And same thing for the Frobenius-Perron dimension. And by the equivalence of two categories we discussed in some previous section, we deduce that the categorical dimension of the disequivalentization of D is the inverse of the order of G dimension of D. And same for the Frobenius-Perron dimension also. Frobenius-Perron dimension of D. So proof of that. So that's an important result. The proof will be little long. So first, let me write that the first and the second line are equivalent. So the equivalence for the formula for C and D follows immediately. As I said, you just take D equal CG or C equal DG. And so we will just prove the first. And this equivalence I was talking about is proposition 419. Proposition 419 is, the two two category fields. Okay, so now we only prove the first line. Prove only the formula involving C. Okay, so now take a simple object in C and you consider the subgroup of G stabilizing X. The stabilizer of its isomorphism class. In other words, H is so the element of the group G such that fgx is isomorphic to X. F index G is the action of G on C. Okay, now consider central extension of this group H. So there is a central extension so satisfying the following so you extend by the non-zero scalar. We denote the central extension H hat and it satisfies this short exact sequence. And here H hat is a group of pairs consist of pairs H phi H in H and phi isomorphism from H to X, from fH of X to X. But because X is a simple object, by Hilscher lemma, this reduced to a scalar. Simple Hilscher lemma automorphism C X is the scalar. But let me write yeah. So this morphism is uniquely defined up to a scalar. Okay. Uniquely defined up to a scalar. non-zero scale. 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 Okay, so now consider. Now we will explain why the set of isomorphism class of simple object in the equivalentization can be completely characterized by some irreducible representation of h hat where this component act as scalar multiplication, and we will try to convince you why this is true. So the set of isomorphism classes of simple object of CG whose image, what I said orally was incomplete, whose image under the forgetful functor contain X under the forgetful functor contain X so by contain we mean Dirac-Samand as Dirac-Samand is naturally in bijection with so irreducible representation of h hat, but with some restriction. That's why it's called here one. So there are irreducible finite dimensional representation of h hat such that the group of non-zero scalar included here act as scalar multiplication. Exactly as here, this is defined up to a scalar multiplicative scalar. Okay. So let me explain. So let me write this bijection as an exercise, but let me provide also a lot of hint. So exercise. So bijection, the exercise corresponds to bijection. But let me still provide some hint, some extensive. So what happened here? So an isomorphism class of simple object Y of CG with Dirac-Samand X is completely determined by the irreducible action of age at on the multiplicity space V of X in Y. Okay, so you have so maybe it would be more accurate to write, to specify it is simple everywhere. So it's a simple object. And why is a simple object? And it's a G equivalent. So remember that in fact, what is a G equivalent? So in fact, to be more precise, why should, how to say? Y and C is of the form phi Y. So it's a pair. And you have a collection of isomorphism. Okay. And UG is from FG of Y to not, yeah, so here, let me use another notation. I don't want to use that. It's a pair, say Z. Yeah, because, yeah, usually we identify the pair with the first component. Or I can just identify. That's why I write it's more precise. To be more precise, Y is of the form Y, like that. It's confusing. Let me write with Z. So Y is in C, Y is a G equivalentization object, and Z is just an object in C. Okay, so you have that. But it is, so you have two things to consider here. It is simple and so simple mean what? You have this X is a sub-object. But the orbit of X will cover all Y. Otherwise, Y will not be simple. So let me explain here. The orbit, how to say? Simple subobject of Y are orbit of X. Yeah. The simple subobject of Z are orbit of X. Okay. So the orbit of X, by the action of the group, cover all the objects. Seen as after, if you forget the second thing. So you get everything reduced to X. So everything reduced to the action on the multiplicity space, which is here. But remember, you have that, which is defined up to a multiplicative constant. on the simple object. So you really need not just the representation of H, but of H bar. So that's the point. Okay. So it's not it is not properly explained, but all the ingredients are there. So the simple object. Okay. Okay. So now you take an element here, and you did so. There is this bijection, this correspondence, bijection. So to any such representation, any such representation corresponds to a simple object in the equivalentization, the corresponding simple object of CG. So let me write two formula we will prove after that. So the square norm of this object is the index of H in G square times the category times the dimension of V vector space times the square norm of X. That will be proved soon. And the same for the Frobenius per dimension, and we don't need square because Frobenius per dimension is positive. So we have that. Here, the dimension to V is a vector space, so there is no point to write Frobenius per dimension. And Frobenius per dimension of X, question 73. So remember that the square norm, the definition of square norm, square norm, it's d plus x times d minus x force. Remember, the left and right dimension defined by the left and right trace involving the choice of some functor from the identity natural isomorphism between the identity functor and the double dual functor. But the choice is cancelled by plus and minus, so this is independent, etc. So how to prove these two identities? A proof of 72 and 73. So observe that there exists a pair of functorial isomorphism, a pair of functorial isomorphism. We can say that as an exercise. In fact, it's this is this kind of thing. Not the pair, but just this functorial isomorphism is always mentioned in paper as folklore, but never proved, even if the proof is an exercise. So This is what we call in one of our paper quasi-pivotal structure. So it means it's not. So it's a natural isomorphism. Here, functorial isomorphism mean natural isomorphism. So it's the notion of natural isomorphism. So it's a natural transformation, etc. But it's not necessarily a tensor. Not necessarily tensor. Otherwise, it will be called a pivotal structure. So between the identity functor and the double dual functor. So natural isomorphism are given by a collection of isomorphism satisfying the natural transformation commuting diagram. So you have, but you can in fact choose a pair from that. And also for the equivalentization, and one is connected to the other by the forgetful functor, such that f equal that, where f from Cg to C is the forgetful functor. So here, maybe they are making the thing more complicated than they are. If I'm not mistaken, you don't need to consider a pair, you just need to consider a natural isomorphism here, and then you just define the natural isomorphism here as you apply the forgetful functor. So, and then you, because of this property of sub-object, etc., you can complete. So it's but maybe this can be also the way to prove that. But how to say? Just take just pick phi y x. So phi g equal phi y g. So that can be, you can pick someone and define phi as the completion of f of phi g. Call like, so here you don't have all here you don't have all the object, but you know by some previous lemma that all the objects in C are sub-object here, so you can complete, I guess there is no problem. So you get this pair. Anyway. So you have such a pair. Okay. So they noted such a pair. Such pairs are in bijection with G invariant functor from the simple object of isomorphism to um, the non-zero scalar. And this is again, so this is something which was discussed in section 242. But this is again something about so you have a simple object and then an isomorphism. So X double star is always isomorphic to X. So any isomorph, so to classify the isomorphism between X and X double star depend only on a non-zero scalar. So all possible. All possible. For by show lemma again. All possible isomorphism. So the isomorphism are classified by the non-zero scalar. Okay, so okay, so now now you pick some pair, such a pair, or such a pair. We have the following. So the left or right dimension of this object depending on V is equal to, and we will explain. So this is like that, f of xv, because the forgetful functor is functorial, is a tensor, sorry, and this is equal to, and we will show that this is equal to the dimension of V d plus or minus x. So we will explain why this is true, but let me immediately finish the sentence. So the identity 72 follow for the definition of square norm, which was recalled here. Square norm. So here it's for okay. So why this identity hold? First, yeah, because we wrote this natural isomorphism, maybe it is the opportunity to recall, to refresh quickly the definition of d plus and d minus. The d plus of xv is by g xv. And you have this left trace here, xv here, xv double star, and d minus xv is like that, phi xv g inverse. Here you have xv double star, xv. And this is equal to And here you use the fact that the forgetful functor applied to this isomorphism is this way. So you get that this is equal to by fx like that, which is to here f of xv xv double star, which is the d plus of f of xv. And here, similarly, d minus f of xv. Okay. Now, so what? So this is for justifying this equality. Now, what about this equality? And you will see, in fact, you will use the orbit, the fact that the simple object of f of xv are the up to isomorphism that are the orbit of x, and then you use the orbit stabilizer theorem in group theory. So you have, so what about this equality? No, let me change the color. No, sorry. This color is too similar to another one. Maybe this one. What about that? So you have f of xv, which is x times, so the multiplicity space v for x plus the orbit made of the orbit of x. Okay, but how many orbits? So what about h? H is a stabilizer. So this is the h part, if you like. H part, which is stabilized. And how many components? You have G over, so the index of H in G component. And by the orbit stabilizer theorem in group theory. By orbit stabilizer theorem from finite group theory. Okay, but each component has the same dimension. And you have, so each component has the same dimension. So I will make the pause. I will finish after the pause. Each component has the same dimension. So you get the formula. Okay, so I almost finished to explain why this equality holds. So remember, by definition, this is a simple object in CG containing X, and this is a multiplicity space, and we know that all the orbit of X made everything. And each orbit, each component has the same dimension. And what is the dimension of that? So this is the dimension of the multiplicity space times the dimension of the object. So you can choose plus or minus. But you have this number of components, so this times this times this, so you get y. This is true. Okay. So let me write this. So d plus or minus, you get dimension of v, d plus or minus x. Okay. Okay. Now. So we get 72. So 73 is quite similar. So similarly. So remember 72 is for categorical dimension. 73 is for Frobenius parent dimension. Similarly, 73 follow from this. So the Frobenius parent dimension is conserved by this forgetful functor because the forgetful functor is a tensor. And here you can just say that this is due to the uniqueness of the Frobenius parent dimension, which is consequence of the uniqueness of the Frobenius parent dimension. Discuss here. So now we have 72, 73. And we will deduce the first line. So we deduce that from 72, this one from 73. So now, we are almost done. So now how you get that now? This is the last argument. Finally, the proposition follow from 72, 73. And I will explain why. What the dimension of the equivalentization. So what is that? So it is, by definition, the sum over the simple object up to isomorphism of the square norm. Okay. But what is that? So sum over you sum over all the orbit, the g orbit of x. Remember, so the simple objects are defined. You have the orbit of x here. So if you write this way, so if this is just the set of g orbits x, if you consider this set, then you only remain to consider the set of vector space as the bijection considered before. Remember that For a given orbit, set of G orbit of X. So maybe, wait. So you have the simple object of C. You group them together by orbit, by G orbit. We know that this this will be for any element here. You can take X, but any other element here, you will get this. So if you take X, you are here. If you take another one, you will be somewhere here. But this do not depend on the choice of the element here. See? And then you just sum to get all the possible simple objects of this form. You just sum over all the representation like that. So if you do that, this double sum, you cover all the simple objects in the equivalentization. So x v squared. But now we are done by 72. Let me take another color. By 72, you get, this is a sum over that, G H squared. H. So I factorize. So let me write without factorizing first, just to understand what we are talking about. So sum for V in here of the formula 72. So you replace the square num by that. So GH squared. So how did you write exactly? In which order? So first dimension of V, then dimension of V squared, then square num of X. But you can factorize here. This and this does not depend on V, so you can put them together out. So this is the sum of like that. So in fact, you can even put this out of the sum also. Sum for V. Yeah. On that. But this is nothing but this is equal to the order of H, so it's a little exercise. Usually, the well-known identity that the sum of the square dimension of the irreducible representation of H is equal to the order of H. Here we sum over the irreducible representation of that, but we fix that. So in fact, by fixing that, by constraining that, you can see as an exercise that in fact you exactly recover the order of H. Otherwise, in fact, this group H is a finite group, but this is not a finite group because it's an extension with the non-zero scalar, which is not finite if you are in characteristic 0. So So you cannot consider everything, you will get something infinite. But if you restrict to that, in fact, what you recover is exactly the order of h. So exercise. So this is done. So you have the order of h here. So you get that this is equal to sum. So this order of h square number of x, and here so let me write directly this way. So you can simplify 1 and you get so there is 1g, so you have order of g square. You put 1 out because it does not depend on what you are summing. And here you keep 1 index like that, and there remain only that. But what is that? Here again, you apply the orbit stabilizer theorem. Yeah, wait. Yeah, you have all. This is, so we want to make this the sum of all the simple object of C. You have this is a set of simple object of C, or an orbit, and this is a number of orbit. So, and for a given orbit, I guess the dimension is the same. Because, yeah, it's an action of a group. So this is equal to by the orbit stabilizer theorem again. Orbit stabilizer theorem is equal to the sum, so cardinal of G, sorry, sum for all the simple objects, square number of x, which is like that. Which is what we wanted to prove. And you need to say that x if x prime in here, or say x prime in here, imply that they have the same square norm. Exercise, because in fact here it's an orbit, so you have there exists a g such that x prime is fg of x, etc. So you get that. So this is exactly what we wanted to prove. You start from that, and we get that, which is what we wanted to prove. And similarly for problems per dimension. So we are done with this proof. Okay. Now, an immediate corollary regarding integral and weakly integral category. Corollary 427. The category equivalent derivation of C is integral, respectively weakly integral, if and only if C is so proof. So it's immediate by the previous proposition. In the weakly integral case, just apply the previous proposition for 26 directly. So remember, what is the meaning of integral and weakly integral? So integral, weakly integral mean Frobenius parent dimension C is an integer, and integral mean the Frobenius parent dimension of X is an integer for all X in a simple object of the category you consider. So it's immediate. Where is it? Here. You know. So in fact, both are algebraic integer. So this is an integer if only this is an integer, because up to putting that here, an algebraic rational algebraic integer is an integer. So it's okay. So this is okay for weakly integral, and for integral, you need to consider the object, so you directly take this formula. And what do you get? Yeah, maybe here you have to be careful, because here, no, it should be okay. Yeah, this is a simple object. This is a simple object, so you have integrality on the simple object, so it's okay. And so in the integral case, use formula 73. So that's very useful. There's not much people today. Not much people today. Okay. So now we will state and prove a corollary regarding faithful grading, dimension, and faithful grading. So we proved in section 2, I guess last semester, the formula involving the Frobenius parent dimension. And now we can prove a similar formula for the categorical dimension. The following corollary is the analog of proposition 221 for categorical dimension. And so maybe there is no need. So remember, this was something like that. the Frobenius power dimension of C is equal to cardinal order of G, Frobenius power dimension of the neutral component. So C is faithfully G graded, and C1 is the neutral component. So we will state and prove something similar for categorical dimension. Corollary for 28. Let G be a finite group. And let E graded, G graded, be a faithful G graded. Faithfully G graded fusion category. Then dimension of C is order of G, dimension of the neutral component. Okay. Mm. Oh. Mm. Proof of that. In fact, the proof will involve some result by Hittinghoff-Nietzsche Shostrik in their advanced paper on weakly group theoretical fusion category. So up to the result, the proof will be immediate from what we already proved. So the proof will be quick by Hittinghoff. Not completely immediate, but quite short. Nietzsche Shostrik. Weakly group theoretical paper. Proposition 2.9, second point. So we know that in this case of faithfully G-graded fusion category, we know that its Drinfeld center contains a Tanakian subcategory isomorphic to rep G. The Drinfeld center contain a Tanakian subcategory E such that so its disequivariantization, which we now denote this way. So the disequivariantization of the Muger centralizer of E, which we denote this way. So remember, it looks like the ingredient in the definition of the core. In the definition of the core, the E was maximum Tanakian. And the category may not be the Drinfeld center, but this is typically the kind of thing we will consider. This is isomorphic to So this disequivalentization is isomorphic to the Drinfeld center of the neutral component. Okay, so this is assumed. Now we know the categorical dimension of the Drinfeld center is the square of the categorical dimension. Computing categorical dimensions on both sides using the equation 25, the identity 25, which say that the dimension of the center is the square of the dimension, and using theorem 310 first point, which is so if you have D in E, where D is braided, then dimension of D prime, Mega centralizer, is equal to the dimension of C, dimension of D intersection C prime, which is equal to dimension of C if C is non-degenerate. Here, the C will be some Drinfeld center, so it will be non-degenerate. Our application. And we also apply proposition, so the last proposition, and proposition 426, which in this context reformulate as dimension of that is 1 over G. Dimension of. Okay. So now, so let me put all these ingredients together to get what we want. So dimension of that. This is, so here you apply 25, so orange. And you apply also, apply something like the dimension, the categorical dimension of rep G is the order of G because is pseudo-unitary. Its categorical dimension is Frobenius point dimension, so it's the order of G. So we have that. So you can replace this by the dimension of the Frobenius of the Drinfeld center. One of these will be order of G, the other will be dimension of categorical dimension of E. So this is dimension Drinfeld center divided by that dimension of E. Now you apply theorem 310I. You apply that here. You get 1 over G dimension of that. Okay. So look here, this is non-degenerate. So you are in this case. Be careful, the notation here are do not align with the notation here. So this is non-degenerate. So the dimension of that is the dimension of that times the dimension of that. Here you take D equal to. Otherwise, you keep this constant. So that's okay. Next. This is equal to, and here you apply this identity. So the fact, what do you say? Dimension of E. Wait. What did I miss something? Yeah. So you use that and that. You use that and that. So let me write this. So you use this one, and this one. So here you know that this is the dimension of that, but we know that that is isomorphic to that. So this is the dimension of that. Dimension of center. And here you see again how the Drinfeld center is very powerful, because again, we prove something for fusion category using modular fusion category, non-degenerate, via the Drinfeld center. So this notion of Drinfeld center is very useful. Okay. And so you get that the dimension of C is order of G, dimension of the neutral component. Okay. Yeah. So the faithfulness was the fact that the grading is faithful is used, I guess, in this proposition. Okay. So for the last 10 minutes, we will consider a last corollary. Corollary 429. So let C be a fusion category over a symmetric fusion category E. We define some relative dimension, and we will say that these relative dimensions are algebraic integer. So be a fusion category over a symmetric fusion category E. Define so the relative dimension as categorical dimension of C divided by the categorical dimension of E. And same for the Frobenius-Perron dimension. So the Frobenius-Perron dimension of C with respect to E is just the Frobenius-Perron dimension of C divided by the Frobenius-Perron dimension of I. Okay. Then both are algebraic integer. This is the point of this corollary. So proof. So a symmetric can be Tanakian or super Tanakian by Delin's theorem. So in the Tanakian case, so it's always, it's Tanakian or properly super Tanakian. So in the Tanakian case, Tanakian, so the result follow by the previous some previous proposition. The result follow from proposition 426 because then this is nothing but the order of G, and so we know that this is nothing but since then dimension of E equals the order of G, and so dim E C is dimension of C G. Wait. Here I should be careful. Maybe I wrote in the wrong way. CG. The dimension is equal to the dimension. Yeah, I see. The problem is that we use C, we should use D. Usually the notation for, let me write with the D, it will be less confusing. Let T, 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 T. This is the dimension of the disequivalence, which is an algebraic integer. So the dimension, the categorical dimension, and same for the Frobenius parent dimension. So let me write this way. Frobenius parent dimension with parentheses, just to state that this is similar. There are, and this is an algebraic integer. Always algebraic integer by something we discuss in section 241 and section 243. So dimension and categorical dimension of a fusion category is always an algebraic integer. So that's for the Tanakian case. So what about if it is not Tanakian? Suppose now that E is not Tanakian, and that proof I may not have the time to finish, but it's not so long, but I may need 5 more minutes, but so I will finish tomorrow. The proof is use a trick. So it's very funny. In fact, it's not Tanakian, but you reduce to the Tanakian case by considering by considering the line tensor product of the category with themselves n times. Remember that if a symmetric category is not Tannakian, then it admits a Tannakian subcategory of index 2. And so you will consider the Tannakian subcategory of that, and you will get some equality for all n, and you will deduce that you will have something which will be an algebraic integer for all n, so you will deduce what the algebraic integer you are looking for. So this is smart. This is a smart proof, so I like it. So it takes the deux lignes tensor product of n copies of C and let En in this in there be X maximal Tannakian subcategory. So by corollary to 50. So regarding you know that the dimension, it's a maximal Tannakian. So this dimension is half the dimension of this. And maybe here you need also to use that E is pseudo-unitary, because I guess his corollary is stated for Frobenius-Poisson dimension. You get that, and we will finish the proof tomorrow. You are almost done. Here you know that this is Tannakian. So we know that this is wait. Okay. You will see this as a fusion category over that. So we know that the dimension with respect to that will be algebraic integer, and then you will get some identities of algebraic integer for all n. So you will deduce that this is also not this one, but something else. But I will explain tomorrow. So to be finished tomorrow. Yeah. Okay, so let's start. Yeah.